Dire Troll Bomber. Beleaguered Trollkin kits have had to draw upon their inherent cleverness and versatility in the face of enemies pressing in on all sides. One of the most effective adaptations was bolstering their armies with heavily armed dire trolls, resilient and fearless cousins able to carry an absurd amount of lethal ordnance. Among the more extreme of these additions is the Dire Troll Bomber, which is armed with kegs of volatile explosives. The powder used in firearms is in a combination of two separate alchemical reagents that must be carefully weighed and mixed for useful detonation. Other explosives do exist, however, such blends favored by miners and loggers who work in the most remote areas. These powders are unsuitable for firearms as their volatility would destroy guns and cannon barrels, but they make for ordnance lethal to those who caught in the blast. The Trollkin stuff barrels with these dangerous substances to create crude but powerful bombs. Some Creels have successfully taught dire trolls to hurl explosive kegs. Though dire trolls cannot be reasonably trained to do any one thing with regularity, they seem to enjoy the fiery eruption and throw the powder keg bombs at the enemy with almost cheerful enthusiasm. Foolishly brave pygmy trolls accompany these enormous bombardiers to light the fuses of their dangerous payloads. Yes, because putting a pygmy on the back with a big old torch makes these even more safer and ridiculous in the simplicity of this. This is not a gun. This is literally giving them explosive barrels and be like, throw them at the enemy. And they do. How simple is that? And I imagine with the power of a dire troll, you can probably get those pretty lobbed out pretty far, or at least relatively speaking. Maybe not as far as like the spear throwers, since barrels aren't really meant to be thrown like that, I imagine, but the ordnance these things probably let off is a pretty staggering. And I've seen them hit, and if they're used by the same alchemical creation to destroy rock. So imagine what that does to metal or human flesh. But let's read over their Mark 3 to Mark 4 changes and see if anything exists. And let's start with their stat line. So he is a speed 5, a mat 6, a rat 6, because they increased it from Mark 3 to Mark 4. So he has a better chance of hitting when he's trying to throw at. He is a defense 12, arm 18, fury 4. He has the trample, slam, and headbutt abilities. He has dual attack because, well, why wouldn't you give a ranged guy that throws barrels dual attack? That wouldn't make any sense. He has regeneration because he is a dire troll, so he can be forced to remove a D3 damage points from himself once per activation. He has snacking, so anytime he kills a guy with melee or a living model with melee, he can remove that from play and gain a D3 damage points. Now let's go over what we all want to see. How much damage can a barrel full of high performance explosives do to another player? So, powder bomb. It is a rat 6, range 8. As mentioned, it is a barrel, not a gun, so it probably doesn't shoot as far. Although, you can give him Farsight with another ability, so you can help fix that a little bit. Rate of fire 1, and an AoE of 3. And for everybody that needs a recap on what the new AoE is in Mark 4, it is 3 models up to 3 inches from the original model hit with blast damage. So that is a pretty staggering ability. I would say it's better than the AoE 4 that it had before, but since we no longer have AoEs like that, it is just as good at clearing a lot of guys. Maybe it's not as good as clearing out entire units like it used to do, but it's still pretty good. So it is a POW 16, so it does pretty staggering damage, especially if you put him up next to his dire troll mauler cousin. So you can get that kicked up to an 18-10, which is enough to clear off most things. And then not only that, he has a forced reload 1, so he can be forced to toss another ranged attack at somebody. So, and at a 16, that is still a pretty significant amount of damage onto whoever you're throwing it at. As mentioned with the AoE, it's 3 models within 3, and it does the blast damage of 8. So if you're hitting low armor models, you're going to probably be clearing them out pretty regularly. His melee weapons include claws, of course. So mat 6, range 1, POW 15s, and of course these are both melee, or these are both hand weapons. So it does give him the throw ability as well. Hey, look at that! He actually has his Animus, has Far Strike. As mentioned, this helps fix some of his range issue. Spellcasters ranged weapon gains snipe. Far strike lasts for one turn and it only costs 1. An attack with this weapon gains +3 range, so it gets this guy kicked up to a range 11 when he casts it. So for only 1 fury point, which gives him 3 additional fury points if you like to max him out. And that is a bunch of range damage coming down below from a lot further out than most players expect.